everybody's #1 travels to Knoxville. Alabama laying about 20 points at Tennessee. The total right around 55 as we shoot this video. And Bryan, I was looking at what Tennessee did in their step-up games in the SEC so far, talking about games against Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi State. That volunteer defense gave up 43 points per game in those outings. As a team, they were outgained 522 to 393 on average. Breaking it down even further as I was looking for reasons to back Tennessee, Tyler Bray, who gets a lot of ink in SEC circles against those three teams just mentioned, 59 for 111. That's a 53% completion rate with as many interceptions, 6, as touchdowns thrown. What do you say on this game?
Well, Tennessee was one of those teams coming into the season I think a lot of people really liked. They had a lot of good players coming back, and I still think the offense is very good. They've scored 31 points against any team not named Florida, so they've done pretty well. But that defense has really been a hindrance. But it's just interesting. You know, we do a lot with line movements and value in lines. Keep in mind, just 5 weeks ago, Tennessee is at home against Florida, and they're laying 3.5 points to Florida. Now they're catching 3 touchdowns against it was Florida #2 and Alabama #1, but they're very close. And so that tells you right there, a big 24-point differential. Is that enough value to take Tennessee here?
There's a little Saturday night story last week. I'm on the texting back and forth with our man Marco here. We both had Mississippi State laying a field goal against Tennessee. It was a 3-star play for me. And, of course, as the day was going, we're watching the Mississippi State game, and they had a 10-point lead. It's down to 3. It's 34-31. Mississippi State drives right down the field in the closing minutes. They get inside the 10-yard line, 1st and goal at the 7 with about a minute to go. Of course, Tennessee's calling timeouts after every play. It's now 4th and goal at the 7. Tennessee's out of timeouts. There's about 14 seconds left, maybe 14 seconds left on the clock. So there's a timeout. You know Mississippi State can't kneel down because then Tennessee automatically gets the ball right there. All the time is stopped. So I'm thinking, okay, they might kick a field goal here, but there was something in the back of my mind that kept saying, Marco, they're not going to kick a field goal and chance a block here. They're going to run the offense out there. They're going to run around for as much time as they can, and then they're going to tell their quarterback to just throw the ball as far as he can out of bounds and as high as he can into the stands to milk that clock. But I was hoping for the field goal at 8-3.
Me too.
So Mississippi State comes back on the field with their offense. I could hear Marco screaming from 20 miles away where he lives. He could probably hear me screaming. I'm sure our wives were both looking at each other like we're absolutely nuts. But Mississippi State throws a touchdown pass at the back of the end zone, a one-handed grab, and the guy's inbounds by that much for the easy cover. Having said all of that, I think anybody cares right now.
I appreciate you repeating that because I believe I bet Tennessee in that game.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. A.J. McCarron, you know, he's been practicing Marco with a brace this week. Nick Saban says no big deal. He's going to go in this game. At least that's what he said as late as Thursday afternoon as we're shooting these videos. Even if he's limited, doesn't this team just run the football out of this defense? We're talking about a Tennessee defense that allowed Florida, the Florida Gators, 336 yards rushing on almost 8 yards per pop. I know there's this big line value thing that we like to talk about every single game that we can, but the bottom line is this just looks to me like one of those situations where Bama does what these other 3 step-up offenses have done, and that's get into the mid-30s, maybe more, even if they're just running the football.
Oh, absolutely. I love Bryan's opening line where he said that the Tennessee defense has been a hindrance.
Very nice.
A hindrance? 92 points in the last 2 weeks. I mean, I think that's a little more than a hindrance. Alabama, you know, they got Mississippi State up next week, which all of a sudden, you know, Mississippi State's getting a little bit of ink, and that was kind of Mississippi State's statement game last week against Tennessee. I don't know how much of a statement it is. The final score looks better than it was, but they did give up 31 points to Tennessee. Tennessee's going to get their points. We're going to find out how good Alabama's defense really is. Alabama has stopped everybody they've played, but really, you look at who they've played, they've really only played one legitimate offense in my opinion, and that was Michigan.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Western Kentucky.
No.
Western Kentucky's the only team covering. I mean, they were really in that game.
Western Kentucky, you know, but, you know, still, Western Kentucky didn't get into the end zone. It was 35-0. Michigan is the best offense that they faced, and they totally shut them down. But the thing about that's a little bit misleading is you really only have one player to stop on Michigan. If you get your game plan and you take the QB out, you know, take Denard Robinson out of there, it's a situation where Michigan's done, and that's what happened in that game. We're going to see them tested this week if they're really, truly there. And I think this team prides themselves on this defense. I mean, they're fighting late, you know, but can you lay 3 touchdowns on the road?
They've only given up 45 points all season long.
Yeah, I mean, I think the line is where you got to make it if you're a bookmaker, obviously. If you made it any lower, anything nearly relative to what they made the Florida Gators, then you're going to get complete one-sided action in this one.
Just about everybody I talked to had their power rating saying to bet on Tennessee here. But when you've got the #1 team in the country and they're covering spreads and they're playing a team who lost by 10 at Mississippi State, a team that still, in the public eye, is not up there. It's not one of the elite teams in the SEC. They're going to get one-way action in that. So the number that came out was pretty solid.
Good info from both guys. This one's my free pick. Not accustomed to laying a lot of points like this, 3 touchdowns on the road, especially in the SEC, but Alabama is a different animal, and I think they're going to be able to run through this defense. And as far as Marco, he made a great point. Are they going to be able to stop this Tennessee volunteer offense? Well, I just told you when Tennessee stepped up against Florida, Georgia, and Mississippi State, all of a sudden they averaged 390 yards on offense. Tyler Bray becomes a 53% passer, 6 touchdowns, 6 picks. If Alabama wants to win this game by 30 points, Alabama wins the game by 30 points. If they're a little bit flat, if A.J. McCarron's a little banged up with that knee injury, maybe they get out big and they look to coast. But I'm going to say you lay the points or you stay away from the game. Alabama, my free pick, minus the points over Tennessee. We'll be back all weekend long, college football and NFL, right here at pregame.tv.